Hey there, GovTech Social. This is Anil Chawla with Archive Social and the GovTech Social podcast. Back at it again in the month of February, looking at how we can empower and protect the open dialogue in government through the use of social media. I've invited my close friend and co-conspirator Dustin Heisler to join me. Dustin, are you ready to talk about something special today?
Let's do it.
All right. So this is February. This is Valentine's month. And if there was one social network that you and I would want to be our Valentine, I think it would be Twitter. But Twitter's been in the news quite a bit recently for a variety of reasons. And today, I would like to explore what that means for government and the longevity of Twitter in terms of government social media strategy. So to get started, Dustin, I know that you're up to speed with the latest and greatest. Why don't you fill us in on what's happening with Twitter?
Well, as Jimmy Fallon would say, hashtag RIP Twitter. There's a trending hashtag right now, actually on Twitter, that the Twitter platform is about to die. And so there's lots of changes that are happening. We've seen everything from the exit of several execs that have been with the company for a long time to new changes with how Twitter is proposing to do their algorithm when it comes to how you see tweets. Historically, they've always shown you a chronological order of everything that comes out in real time. And there's been some speculation that Twitter may do away with that, which has kind of prompted the world to really rebel. Lots of changes in leadership, lots of changes or proposed changes in platform functionality. I think we're kind of in this period where Twitter is really growing up before our eyes, and they're trying to figure out how to be a social network in 2016 with every other social network introducing features that are similar to them. So there's a lot of confusion, I think, right now when it comes to their strategy, their long-term strategy and the implications it has. But it's a really interesting time to watch them. What do you think?
And you know, on top of that, there's also the stock price. It's a public company now, and the stock price has taken quite a hit.
Right.
It's well below the IPO. That's outside of us technology geeks. People in general are worried about the future of Twitter. Jack Dorsey, the founder of Twitter, original CEO, is back in the seat, trying to right the ship. A lot of the changes that you mentioned are things that Jack has talked about, which has created a little bit of a firestorm like RIP Twitter. Based on what we're seeing with the proposed changes, the stock price, do you think that the future of Twitter is being threatened? What's the impact of all of this to government?
Yeah, it's a great question. I mean, I think we're going to see a lot more of this across other social networks as well. I mean, we're in this period of exponential change where new features are introduced. I mean, we have Facebook that is now introducing new ways to like content through emotions and through emoticons. And so a lot of social networks are really trying to figure out how to keep pace with a constantly changing and evolving society. So I think that Twitter right now is front and center. Everybody's paying attention to it. Everybody's paying attention to their very public CEO with a lot of his comments. And I think we're just going to see a lot more changes and a lot more experiments when it comes to these social networks as they try to keep pace. And like you said, from a business standpoint, Twitter stock isn't performing too well. They've always struggled with monetization. So I think that there's going to be some challenges there as they try to figure out a business model around it. Implications for government is this is not anything that's going to be new. This is something that's going to happen more often. And I think that, it's something we want to pay attention to. It's something you want to watch, but it's not something that should really change your strategy within the public sector and how you're using Twitter. And I'll kind of flip that back around to you, Anil, because I know you work with hundreds of agencies across the country. What are you seeing from your government clients in relation to their use of Twitter?
I think you nailed it, Dustin. There's an evolution that's happening with the core platforms, and then there's all these niche platforms showing up, and then we're seeing a consolidation. So a great example would be Periscope. Periscope is probably the hottest topic for us right now at Archive Social, and we're talking to a government agency about record keeping. They'll ask us about Periscope because it's the shiny new object. There's definitely a use there with the live streaming, and of course Twitter acquired them. And so you are seeing platforms like Facebook and Twitter both, and perhaps we'll see maybe the next year do the same, evolve their feature set, grow to expand to supplement other use cases. And the game that they're playing is really trying to continue to increase their monthly active users. That's where the stock price is taking a hit. It doesn't mean that people have stopped using Twitter, that Twitter is going away. It doesn't mean any of that. It just means that they're having a harder time growing the active user base. And I agree with you fully. This is not something that should be a cause for concern in government. Don't panic. Twitter is here to stay for the foreseeable future. It provides a unique value in terms of that lightly coupled relationship online, where you can follow and be followed, and it's not really a commitment. It's a really easy way to share information in a short, concise format. That's a need that Twitter tapped into several years ago that has proven itself, especially in government during emergencies and public safety situations that threaten public safety. That's not going to go away, and Twitter is still the company best positioned to maintain that. So we actually, fortunately, we're not hearing from our customers yet about what, do we need to be on Twitter or not. They're not panicking, but they are expressing a lot more interest with these other platforms that I think major players like Facebook and Twitter will continue to bake in. So I think our message here to the audience is don't panic. Twitter is not going away, and government should stay the course. I also think what's interesting is that with hashtag RIP Twitter, a lot of the outcry is coming from Jack Dorsey, the CEO, making some statements about what Twitter might do, but not really based on what they're doing. And I think it's actually a really interesting way for Twitter to market test some of their ideas. They mention they might do something, and they get to see their reaction, and then they get to mold how they actually do it so that people are happy. So they're not breaking the platform. They're not tearing it apart. They're just putting information out, seeing how people are reacting, and they're trying to make the experience better. I think it's a positive course for Twitter to take. To wrap this up, Dustin, are there any action items or key takeaways you would share with our audience today?
Yeah, I think you should constantly evaluate these platforms that are out there. Look for the new feature sets that they're introducing. Find ways that you can use it to better connect with your audience. Twitter's going to introduce quite a few, I think, over the next 12 months. You're going to see Facebook do the same thing. Stay on top of it. It's a fun thing to do. It's an exciting time to be in public service and to really look at how you can use social media as a platform to better connect with your constituents. So have some fun with it. Experiment with it. Don't be afraid of these new moves. Lots of networks, as Anil said, are going to be introducing new things. But just stay abreast of what's happening out there. And also, this is a great way to start a conversation with your employees and find out how they're using these new social platforms. So I think don't be fearful. Look for ways to leverage these new technologies and to get new value out of your constituents. And, most importantly, have fun with it.
I agree, Dustin. You've got to evaluate the social networks and how are you going to use them. Each social network has a different usage. And what I would close out with is for all of us to remember that with Twitter, there's really generally two camps of users. There's the active, engaged contributors, and then there's the read-only audience. And what Twitter's really struggling with is the active, engaged user base. They want more people to post and share and be involved. But there is this sleeper audience almost where they're watching the Twitter feed, they're consuming information, not necessarily contributing. And that model actually works really well for government, because government agencies are absolutely in the first camp, just like celebrities, just like major news organizations. Government agencies have a message that needs to get out. And so we're only going to see an increase of government agencies participating in Twitter, and we should see that increase. And then there's this other audience that's there to consume the information. Maybe they'll retweet it, favorite it, but they're really there to read that information and get that information from you. And it's really critical that agencies continue to participate and recognize that audience split. So with that, Dustin, I want to thank you for participating in this review of how we can empower and protect open dialogue. And until next month.